No one likes what's happening in the Middle East. First, Jews in Israel suffered one terrible afternoon. Now, Palestinians for weeks are repaying in blood of thousands. But whereas the world is mourning Jewish lives, there is not a tear on the hell unfolding on the Palestinians. What do you think could have been the crime of 2,000 Palestinian children? Or 700 Palestinians killed in one day, or 500 butchered in one strike in a hospital in Gaza. Welcome to yet another edition of WiseHeads. I am your host Ashish Shukla. We believe that Israel had a right to defend its people, but by the same logic, why Palestinians don't have a right to defend their own people? For 70 years, Palestine has been occupied by Israel. This when some 139 out of 193 countries in the United Nations recognize Palestine. Year after year, most of the world in the United Nations want Palestinians to be given back their land. But Israel doesn't give Palestinians their land. Just 20 years after it came into being, Israel occupied most of East Jerusalem, which was deemed to be the Palestinian territory by the United Nations. After Hamas came into power in 2006 in the Gaza Strip, Israel has blockaded this land by air, sea and ground. Some 2.3 million Palestinians are trapped in this small territory. It is one of the most densely populated places in the world, and yet little reaches them by way of food, water or fuel. When Hamas burst into anger and episodic violence, Israel carries out disproportionate savagery. Palestinians then flee to neighboring Jordan or Egypt, so much so that some 50% of Jordan's population today is Palestinian. Tens of thousands of Palestinians are living under tents in Egypt for decades. Same has happened this time too, though the scale is much larger. Hamas attacked Israel's cities like never before. Israel's fury in return is like never before. Only this time tens of thousands of Palestinians have nowhere to go. Egypt doesn't want to overburden its exchequer. Likewise, Jordan too can't take any further Palestinians. Where could innocent children, girls, women, old and sick Palestinians go when the enemy is not even sparing their hospitals? Hospital is a good reference point to showcase the duplicity, hypocrisy and treachery of our free world. We know that Al-Ahbi Arab hospital in Gaza was bombed, which killed 500 people. Israel says it's not them, it is the Palestinians themselves who did so to earn the world's sympathy and put them in a spot. To drive home their point, Israel released audio of a talk between two Hamas fighters in which it is confessed that the missile belonged to Hamas. Now think about it. If Palestinians have such a powerful missile, why would they not attack Tel Aviv or Ashkelon? Why a hospital? If Palestinians have such a powerful rocket, how come they have never been able to kill more than a handful when the figure this time is 500 killed? If Israel within hours could find out about the plot to bomb their own hospital by the Palestinians, if they are so good, how come Israel could never foresee the Hamas attack on October 7? This when the Egyptian intelligence had told them in advance about the Hamas attack. This when the US intelligence had confirmed to them 24 hours before the attack happened. Was Israel looking for an excuse to eliminate the Hamas issue once for all? Let's look at the US reaction to hospital bombing. Within 15 minutes, the US agreed with the Israelis that the hospital was indeed bombed by the Palestinians themselves. If the US is so good with its intelligence, how come in 15 months they are not able to tell us who bombed the Nord Stream gas pipelines of Russians? Talking of Russia, let's look at the hypocrisy of the two situations. Ukraine must defend itself against Russia, for the latter is an occupier. But when Palestinians try to defend themselves against the occupier Israel, it is not done. When Israel attacks Palestinians, it's a provoked aggression. When Russia hits back Ukraine, it's an unprovoked aggression. Ukraine's strongman Vladimir Zelensky says that Russia doesn't respect the mandate of the United Nations. But when Israel doesn't accept the mandate of the United Nations, it's deemed as justified. Now the United States side with Ukraine, proclaiming that it is doing this for human rights and well-being of civilians. But for Washington, the Palestinians' well-being and massacre doesn't qualify as human rights. The United States thumps its chest all the time as the champion of democracy, yet it supports an apartheid regime and occupier in Israel. The United States boasts its adherence to rules-based world order, but when Israel tramples the rules-based world order on Palestine, the US has no qualms in standing by Israel. If Israel is practicing colonialism and the US is standing by Israel, how could the United States claim it's all for a free world? How does the US branding of China, Russia, and North Korea as an oppressive state should look to a neutral? Instead, Joe Biden is sending billions of military aid to Israel, which itself is a nuclear state and has the 10th largest military in the world. This against tens of thousands of defenseless Palestinians. The same duplicity is embedded in our mainstream media. Hamas is a terrorist organization, but never a mention is made that Israel has been declared an apartheid state by human rights bodies, that it's a serial trespasser of international law as ordained by the United Nations, that when Israel attacks Gaza, it's humanitarian crisis in the eyes of the BBC, as if it is an earthquake and not hell raining from the sky. For mainstream media, Palestinians are dying and not being killed. For them, Israel is attacking in retaliation, but Hamas was unprovoked aggression. Never mind the millions of Palestinians have been provoked all through the last 70 years. The truth is there is an occupier and an occupied, an apartheid state on one side, the stateless people on the other. One party is doing ethnic cleansing and the other party is being ethnically cleansed. There is a clear aggressor and a clear victim, yet your mainstream media under an agenda never lets out the truth. That's all in today's edition of WiseHeads. We meet again and hopefully with a better news than what it is unfolding in front of our eyes. This is your host Ashish Shukla, who now takes your leave. Goodbye and best of luck. We all need it.